What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Java Talks. I'm your host, RJ Javangula, and in today's episode, we're gonna really delve into this topic that I've been thinking about a lot tonight. And I just wanted to sit down, voice my opinions, just really explore and just trying to reason the thought process that I've been having, and see what kind of reaction it's gonna have. And it's gonna be super uncut, it's gonna be super natural. Hopefully, it doesn't go too long, but you never know with this kind of stuff. It's currently 2:26 a.m. and I'm just sitting in my room and I'm just really starting to think about this question. And that question is, what does purpose look like? So, I it's something that I constantly think about, right? What should I be doing every day? What should I be spending my time in life devoting myself to? What should I be committing myself to? And when you really think about something like that, right? When you start to think about what your purpose is, it really starts to put a toll on your mind. It really starts to make you question your priorities, your daily routine, your objectives, your goals. And before I even get really into the question, I want to start with beginning to differentiate between goals and purpose. When I think of goals, right, I think of a goal when I'm working out, right? Let's say I'm trying to increase my bench, and I'm at 205 and I want to go to 225. I think that's a goal. Do I think that that goal is my purpose in life? Or is that goal just supplementary to something that I'm trying to accomplish in my life? And I think you see a lot of repetition and things like that, right? You, when I think of purpose, I think of large scheme. I think that's the best way to differentiate between a goal and a purpose. When I think of a purpose, I think of the scale of it is your life's work, right? The entirety of your life culminates into one purpose. When I think of goals and I think of agendas, I think of intermediate priorities that you may or may not have and things that you want to accomplish in the short term. Things that, as you're going through your daily life, something that really appeals to you, something that makes you work towards something every day. And when I talk to a lot of people, right, I started having a lot of these thoughts as a senior in high school, so a little over 4 or 5 months ago. And you start to see a lot of people don't really have an understanding of what they want to do or why they want to do this. That why is going to be a key aspect in all the episodes going forward. And that made me question what my why is. I tell a lot of people that my why is to create lasting impact for multiple generations in order to create a legacy. And I don't know how that translates to my purpose, right? I created the Java Talks. I created different kinds of organizations. I created different kinds of ideas. I created shirts, clothing. But what am I trying to accomplish with my purpose? What am I trying to do with my life? When I look at all the things that I've done, right, it's just a scatter shot. And by that I mean I throw a bunch of feelers out into the world and I try to see what hits its target, what doesn't hit its target, what completely misses, what's kind of close. And I think a lot of us try to do something similar to this, where you have businessmen who go into different markets because they think that one market's going to work for them, but it doesn't, so they try to enter another product market. You see writers try different writing styles for plenty of periods just to see what's going to work the best for them. You see teachers trying different types of teaching styles depending on what's going to work best for their students. You see athletes try different kinds of recovery methods depending on what works for their body the best, and so on and so forth. So, from my junior year to my senior year to my first semester in college, I tried multiple things. I tried putting myself in multiple positions, multiple roles, many of them that made me uncomfortable, to really see what I'm good at. And I think the common thing when you're younger is that you're gonna see failure, um, and I see failure on the daily. Right, I see myself lounging away. I see myself with the lack of motivation, with this lack of a to-do list of what to accomplish for a day, and I just see that, does that make my purpose questionable? Do you have to constantly be working towards your purpose in order for your purpose to be your purpose? I know that was a lot of repetition, but it does beg the question of, if I'm not constantly working towards my purpose, if everything I'm doing doesn't relate to that why, then is that my why? And you see, my thoughts are all over the place right now because, one, we're talking about purpose, right? Your life's work and what it culminates to and why you're doing it. But then you have this daily, day to day problem where maybe not everything you're doing applies to that end goal. And I guess this is my question tonight, where I was compelled to come, turn on my mic, turn on my recording studio, and just figure out what I'm trying to think of. And I, I constantly think, should I be, for example, practicing my coding right now? Should I be creating more content to put out on the Java Talks? Should I work on my organization hero? And that takes me away from the simple joys of life, of hanging out with people, of spending time with friends and family, of just watching TV, watching some sports, watching some sports shows. And the question really here is, why the first question, I guess, is, does working and enjoying other things in life take you away from your purpose? I constantly hear this idea that you have to be everything that you do has to pertain to that why. And especially at a younger age, right? I'm 19. I constantly am doing other things other than what I want to accomplish with my life, right? The end goal is to get into politics. And is everything I'm doing right now going into politics? Of course not, right? My sports shows aren't necessarily going to be helping me directly translate into political skills. My TV shows that I'm watching, like Rick and Morty or South Park, aren't going to be helping me with sports shows or politics. Sorry. Um, Doing all of that may help my content on the Java Talks, right? I have a template, I have bits, I have segments that I could be practicing, that I could be working into the Java Talks with my other projects. So I guess my as I've been talking about it, right? My idea is that working on other things that don't necessarily pertain to your why is questionable, right? I'm not saying that it's good or a bad thing yet, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. But now let's jump over to this idea of your why, and should you be working towards your why on a constant basis? When I see people that, let's take this example for instance, where you see professional athletes constantly training in other sports sometimes, or Serena Williams throws a football before every tennis, or not before every tennis game, but back in the day she used to throw a football before tennis matches because to warm herself up, to practice this different range of motion, to really put herself in a different realm than tennis, to train her bodies in different ways. And one could argue that that's time that she could be working on her, or she could be warming up for her serves. That's time that she could be rallying. That's time that she could be practicing her direct range of motion for tennis. But one could also argue that by practicing other things, she's making herself more well-rounded. Now I want to translate this example into life's purpose. When I think of life's purpose, right, I think of this end goal that you're working towards. For Serena Williams, it was her tennis skills, her tennis prowess. Um, and by doing all these other things, right, you're making yourself more well-rounded. By hanging out with your friends, you're developing social skills. With watching TV, and depending on what you're watching, I guess, you're developing a sense of content. You're putting yourself in a position to acquire content from people. When I watch Stephen A. Smith from First Take on ESPN, I'm seeing rhetoric. I'm seeing a debate style TV show that's going to help me in debate style classes and debate style environments. Um, when I'm watching Rick and Morty, I guess I'm developing a sense of humor. I'm developing comedic timing, which I don't know what that's helping, but I mean, it's there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think you necessarily have to be working on what you want to accomplish every single day of your life. And I think that that's something that a lot of people view in a negative light. I think that a lot of people think that you have to constantly be working in order to be successful. And I saw this on it from Mark Cuban the other day, where it's people who work 80-hour days to avoid a 40-hour week, or 80-hour weeks in order to avoid a 40-hour week, because they want to be their own bosses. They want to show that they're working hard. They want to show that they're willing to put in the effort to be the entrepreneur. And I think there's this misconception that if you're not working 80 hours, then you're some kind of failure. If you're not working 40 hours, you're some kind of failure. Um, and I think that you see that kind of effect on the confidence levels of younger generations. Um, you see people who struggle to want to look towards their futures because they don't want to necessarily work towards that future goal yet. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't think about your future goals. I don't think it's wrong to think about your purpose, your why in life. But I don't think that it's a wrong thing to not necessarily work towards that purpose right off the bat. I'm not telling 16, 17-year-olds to go out and start learning coding and start looking into medical surgeries and start looking into the MCAT, the LSAT from 16, 17 and not enjoy their life, not go play sports, not be in marching band, not be in orchestra, not be in theater. I'm not telling people that you shouldn't develop these other talents, these other skills, these other stress reliefs. But I think that it's not a bad thing to look towards your why. And I think that if you're comfortable with looking towards your why, if you're comfortable with understanding that, maybe you're not going to be working towards this, your why in life every single day or every single second or every single minute, but you're identifying something that's going to be there in the long term. You're identifying a parameter that you're just going to be working around, working within, something that you can change, something that you've identified, and now it's an object in your life that you possess. It's not possessing you. It's not going to startle you. It's not going to just jump on you from nowhere. And that doesn't take away from all these different things that you can be doing, right? Have stress reliefs. Take time to meditate. Take time for yourself. Don't be some kind of a subject of the system, which the system is your work, your workplace environment, your school, your college, your sports team. Take time for yourself and really take time to identify what it means to have a purpose, right? To have a purpose doesn't mean that that purpose binds you, that it obligates you to do certain things. That purpose is more or less a guideline. And I think that when you see Serena Williams not constantly playing tennis, taking time for herself, for her husband, for her daughter, uh, to develop other skills other than just tennis so that she becomes that athletic queen, that athletic force that she is, that you see that she's not constantly working towards that goal directly, but by developing all these other things, she's eventually helping that goal so much more, that purpose. She became the force that she is because she developed other skills. And I think when you identify this, or when you start to begin to think about this question of what is purpose, it's a guideline. It's something that you can look towards the future, to something that puts you in this, not necessarily a box, but it puts your actions, your ideas, your principles, your opinions into this filter where you start to really understand what applies towards your direct life and what really applies to something that you just want to do for fun. And I think that by identifying something like that, then you start to become more confident with yourself. You start to become to understand that there's something in your future that you can look forward to, right? There's something that you have clarity in your life of what you want to accomplish. But you also have this identification of what won't be for your future, of what's just for you, of what's just going to make you happy at the end of the day. And when you understand that purpose is nothing but a guideline, not your life's objective, not your life's focus, but just a guideline, then I think there's this clarity and this peace of mind. Um, And quite frankly, when I started thinking about this 2, 3 hours ago, I didn't have this peace of mind. I was just sitting there and I was thinking, what should I be doing something better with my life right now? Um, I was just reading, and I was just reading not even philosophy books, which I bought 4 of recently, but I was just reading some fiction. And that was just time for myself throughout a busy day where I was just feeling tired and I just wanted to sit down and read. Then I started to think, should I just open up my computer and start coding? Should I maybe pick up one of my philosophy books and start to read what Aristotle had to say about happiness? Should I, the list goes on and on of what I could have been doing elsewise, but when I think about it now, what I've been talking about for the last 14 to 16 minutes, however long this thing's been so far, I start to understand that I took time for myself, and that gave me the opportunity to reflect and to be able to sit down now at 2:41 a.m. and be able to create content, right? If I didn't take that time for myself, then I wouldn't have been able to come here and sit and create content. Um, when I played club soccer, I didn't practice every single second of the day. I would work out. Um, I would take time for my academics so that post soccer I would have something to do in college. Um, I played soccer, right? Not even just focusing on soccer, but I played soccer so that I'd have that overall health that would propel me to my goal um, of becoming a computer scientist or a philosopher or a content creator or a politician, right? Having that release as an athlete gave me the opportunity to come and do this. Could I have been using that time to do something else? Sure, but I took time for myself. And I think that's what I'm really trying to get at. That from what I'm trying to tell you is that purpose to me is nothing but a guideline, uh, an objective for the future, an objective and a filter, especially a filter, um, and an identifier. It really tells you what's for your future and what's just for you. And you don't have to necessarily be working on yourself and your purpose every single second of your life, right? Take time for yourself. Take time to understand that everything else you're doing will help you in your long term too. Because your objective won't go away. It's still going to be there. It's something to look forward to in the future, and that should give you strength, not intimidation. And when you start to understand that, then I think that you're going to start to understand that there's more to life than this ironclad objective that you have to accomplish. Putting yourself in the best position, the best health, the best mental health, the best position to succeed is going to make you the most composed that you're going to be able to be in order to tackle that objective, in order to be as successful as possible. And I think that, you know, 2 hours ago I didn't have that clarity, and now just sitting here and talking about it, being able to reason about it, I feel better. I feel better about taking time more for myself and being able to understand that, I'm on break right now. I don't necessarily have to be working, but the time that I'm spending on other things is going to help me too. So, I guess that wraps up this episode of the Java Talks. Thank you guys for tuning in on my somewhat all over the place reasoning of what is purpose. And I'd strongly recommend that if you guys are ever just struggling with thinking about what you want to do, just sit down and just start talking, right? Close the door, just be in a room by yourself, and really start to just vocalize out loud the opinions and the thoughts that you're going to have, because really, writing down things is going to help, but being able to hear yourself articulate different thoughts, that's a whole different mindset, and that's going to help you practice your rhetoric. It's going to help you really be able to practice your ability to create thought and put it into dialogue. So, thank you guys for tuning into the Java Talks. I'm your host, RJ Javangula. Stay tuned for more. I think the next episode is going to be about what is happiness. So, if that's something that you're interested in, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys. Peace out. Always here for you guys.